Again, may I ask that everybody sit down, please, so that we can begin our program. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kikuo Apis III, and I will be your MC for this afternoon. Our official ceremony at 1 p.m. and we will be live streamed on V6AH Radio, on V6A Radio's Facebook page. And Kung Mas Wi-Fi donated by Senator Perman. Please use the hashtags HRD in FSM or hashtag UN75 in FSM, and stand up for human rights. Now, again, I'd like to ask that we begin to fill our seats, and volunteers will be watching and securing the tables during the official portion of the program. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Mrs. Emmy, Father Ken, Diplomatic Corps, Cabinet members, and other government officials, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to call on Father Ken for an offering of our prayer this afternoon. Sir?
So, before I pray, I'd like to share a little story. Two friends were climbing a mountain and they came about a tree that has lots of beautiful fruits. They helped themselves to the fruits of the tree, and as they left, one of them picked a whole sack of fruits and took with him. The other one took a branch of the tree. When they went home, one of the friends has a lot of fruits, and the other one with the branch planted it. And a plant came and bare lots of good fruits. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, during this holy season of Advent, as we prepare for the coming of your Son, we ask you to look kindly on us today as we come together to commemorate the declaration, the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Your begotten Son even asked the question, to what shall I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplace looking at each other. Gracious God, as we come together, mindful of who we are as humans, children of you, created in your image and likeness, and you proclaim that we are good. You make us the steward of your creation, Lord, but we are humans. We ask your blessing as we remember this declaration of human rights, that we start planting the seeds that all of us are brothers and sisters, beautiful in our own ways, no matter where we come from, the beliefs that we may have, the orientations that each of us have, we are still your children who are good. Bless this event today. Bless us that we shall go forward, not just talk about human rights, but do something to promote it in our communities. That our leaders may do that in our government, that all people will realize that they are good. We thank you for the United Nations and its organizations for bringing to our shores this ideal that all are created equal in your image and likeness. Bless whatever activities they have today. Take care of us. We make our prayers, for we always do, in the name of your Son and our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Father. At this time, I would like to invite everyone to join us for the singing of the FSM National Anthem.
We are pledging with heart and with hand, full measure of devotion to thee, our native land. Full measure of devotion to thee, our native land. Now all join the chorus. Let union abide across all Micronesia. Join hands on every side. Across all Micronesia, join hands on every side. We all work together with heart, voice, and hand, till we have made these islands another promised land. Till we have made these islands another promised land. Full measure of devotion to thee, our native land. Across all Micronesia, join hands on every side, till we have made these islands another promised land.
Kalangan, Youth for Change. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to introduce our first speaker this afternoon, who will be delivering welcome remarks on behalf of the Governor of Pohnpei State. Mrs. Emmy Mushashi Carl, Luke Payne and Lenso, President of the Pohnpei Women Council.
This is better. Muna iban pachoyang nanay chungal pukon kosam. Imen mowe uyay chungal sa karatan kay pwani ban kupren sa child court. Chungal sa karatan kay pwani oh wow. Ban prenerek soko and pon payu. Wow lap ban prenisonan kan sa pulmar lukan nanalak nan kaniyaikan wawan ki iso seriso o sa pulmar lang kaiti chorus nan talian siya puli ki wawat labalap kaiti kan nan pelian momotso o government wow toror ang sa pulmachayang President NFSM His Excellency David Panuelo William Pachay na NFSM Congress so ko pong labalap o yang ay so ko pong kan nan kan taga kapachapach pilpuli ki wawat kapina o karyang kapina so ko pong labalap o yang amoy so ko pong kan speaker o William Pachay kan nan Bombay Legislature kaysa wow Tororong Mayor and Colonia Town Mawilian local government kan sang pangilap lal kapangamarangi. Wow naki puin liakan puin pulapul kami namin ang Israel mesapon naman ki chungalan ki anan choror Israel melikay labakan Melen John School me pajan child ranwat o John pon pi unsap o piliray lakan makaikirugon pay members of the diplomatic corps office and United Nations kan international or intergovernmental organizations NGO o Russia Puepi kupuran wasanalala isipaw nan marki and Wayne Matalanim ay pata pukawat nintuan ay pachkiyang sa pachay kapina and Wayne Ponpe o kasawo John Ponpe u nan tatok kasampal and Ranwat we are ran yung me Ponpe o FSM pachkiyang kami namin and Sampa, the United Nations. Kasakasarawi ran and punganaramas the International Human Rights Day. Puegi out of and ran what nintuan na chayan pan pachkiyang kami namin and Sampa nintuan epan kapukupukti o nintuan epan pachapasan ng aragachin o yan ka bata kapuko kasamwan watch o sakarata ni Pajon White. Welcome to the International Human Rights Day. Human Rights Day came into force after it was officially adopted at the UN General Assembly on December 4, 1950. It is believed to be the first time that a global document on human rights was outlined. It stated the fundamental rights of humans, which thus needs to be protected across the globe. Human Rights Day 2020 theme is Recover Better, Stand Up for Human Rights. This year, the theme is in sync with COVID pandemic, and it focuses on creating equal opportunities for everyone to address the failures and disappointments we all are exposed to due to COVID-19. This is an opportunity to reaffirm the importance of human rights so as to be able to restore and build the world that we seek for attaining global solidarity. This Human Rights Day is a call to action, a call for us to seize this opportunity and build the world we want. On this day, the aim is to engage the public and the partners of human rights, as well as the UN family, to take transformative action and showcase inspirational practical examples that could contribute in making resilient society that can recover in a better way. This year's Human Rights Day fall at a time we will never forget. COVID-19 has taken us by storm and shaken our world. And the world has never had to face the challenges that we face right now. The COVID-19 crisis has been fueled by deepening poverty, rising inequalities, structural and entrenched discrimination, and other gaps in human rights protection. There have been more than 69.5 million confirmed cases worldwide. 1.58 million people have died. Billions have been on lockdown. Lives and livelihoods have been threatened and lost. People are emerging into a different, uncertain world for a new desire for change. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on vulnerable groups, including frontline workers, people with disabilities, older people, women and girls, and minorities. For FSM, we have citizens stranded in Guam, in Hawaii, in the United States due to COVID-19 and the lockdowns of our nation. By doing so, Pohnpei, like many other jurisdictions, have temporarily suspended a number of civil and constitutional rights with considerable human rights implications on our own citizens. Teaching human rights and creating awareness about the protection of human rights and human dignity must be part of our COVID response. To guide us through this challenge, we need not look further than our very own preamble, which states, and I quote, "We, the people of Pohnpei, in whom Almighty God has bestowed sovereignty over the sea, the air, space, and the islands within, to now, by His grace, establish this Constitution. Through the exercise of our sovereign right of self-determination, we accept without hesitation the responsibility to serve as the guardians of our people and island, both now and in the future, to protect and uphold the inalienable rights of our people, to protect and maintain the heritage and traditions of our islands, to protect and promote the harmony and prosperity of the people of Pohnpei. We acknowledge the strength that comes from the union of our individual cultural past. We are united by a common sea, and we freely express our desire to live and work together in peace and harmony for the common good of the people of Pohnpei and all mankind. With this Constitution, we proclaim and reaffirm the sovereignty of Pohnpei. Human Rights Day is a call to action, a call for all of us to seize this opportunity and build a better world. For that, we must accept the lessons from this calamity. We must end discrimination of any kind, reduce widespread inequalities, encourage participation, especially from young people, and increase and intensify our resources and efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, a concrete agenda for universal human rights. As I stand here, also representing the Broadway Women Council, I want to highlight achievements of women in the world in advocating human rights. Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady of the United States of America from 1933 to 1945. Eleanor Roosevelt was appointed in 1946 as a delegate to the United Nations General Assembly by the United States President Harry S. Truman. She served as the first chairperson of the Commission on Human Rights and played an instrumental role in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. At a time of increasing East-West tensions, Eleanor Roosevelt used her enormous prestige and credibility with both superpowers to steer the drafting process toward its successful completion. In 1968, she was posthumously awarded the United Nations Human Rights Prize. Hansa Mehta of India, the only other female delegate to the United Nations Commission on Human Rights in 1947 to 1948, was a staunch fighter for women's rights in India and abroad. She is widely credited with changing the phrase, and I quote, "All men are born free and equal," to "All human beings are born free and equal." This is recited in Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. A diplomat and feminist leader from Dominican Republic, Minerva Bernardino, was instrumental in arguing for inclusion of the equality of men and women in the preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Together with other Latin American women, Berta Lutz of Brazil and Isabel de Vidal of Uruguay, she had also played a crucial role in advocating for the inclusion of women's rights and non-discrimination based on sex in the United Nations Charter, which in 1945 became the first international agreement to recognize the equal rights of men and women. There are many other women who work diligently in advocating for human rights. There are those who were frontliners, those who work behind the scene for their own safety, and those whose voices were never heard, and those who became victims of their own society. We must act. Working together with solidarity, we can recover better. We can build a more resilient, sustainable, and a just world. I want to end with two important quotes that speak to the core of the challenges that we face today. This is from Mr. Mandela. It always seems impossible until it is done. The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man is threatened. John F. Kennedy. Happy International Human Rights Day. Thank you very much. Kalangan.
Before I move forward, I would like to make a small biographical statement about Mrs. Carl. She's someone that I have, ever since I was probably 6 years old, looked up to until this day, and she's a great inspiration for many women in the FSM. Moving forward, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the newly elected president of, moving forward. I am pleased to introduce our next speaker, who will be delivering pre-recorded special remarks from Fiji, the UNRC. Okay. So, just a short introduction. On September 1st, 2018, Mr. Sanaka Samarasina commenced his appointment as the United Nations Resident Coordinator for 9 Pacific Island countries, including FSM, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and Fiji. Mr. Samarasina served in mixed as the UNRC Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative and UNFPA Representative in Belarus from 2013 to 2018. Before this appointment, Mr. Samarasina has served in various offices of the UN and UNDP, and in particular as Director for the Global Center for Public Service Excellence Singapore, Senior Advisor to the UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative in Iran, Officer in Charge, Maldives, Director, Kosovo, and Officer in Charge of UNDP Samoa, Niue, Tokelau, and Cook Islands. Mr. Samarasina was also a Deputy Resident Representative in Myanmar and Deputy Country Director for Sri Lanka. Prior to that, he served in Bangkok as the Regional Rule of Law Advisor, covering 26 countries in Asia and the Pacific. Before joining the UN, Mr. Samarasina worked in the legal profession and in journalism with government, civil society, and the private sector in several different countries, including the US, South Africa, and India. With no further ado, I would like to ask that we begin Mr. Samarasina's pre-recorded statements.
Good morning, Excellency, President of FSM, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament, dear friends across FSM. Happy Human Rights Day to all. I'm very sorry that I can't be in person as I had wished, as we endure this very strange and difficult year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been impossible, of course, for me to travel to FSM as I would normally have done to visit you and be with you on a day like this. I am recording this now, just minutes before you are convening over there in FSM from a village outside of Suva, outside of Nandi, Fiji actually. Where we are providing integrated rural services as a UN system in support of the government and civil society who are all out here with us today. We celebrate Human Rights Day on the 10th of December around the world, as you all know. And this year is an opportunity to reaffirm the importance of human rights in rebuilding the world we want. In the 75th anniversary year of the United Nations, your United Nations, and to illustrate how we all can build back better by placing human rights at the core of the recovery from the impact of COVID-19. As we mark Human Rights Day, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed to us the vulnerabilities of all of us and the interdependence of the entire world. Human Rights Day is an opportunity to call all of us to action. One thing that stood out clearly, anything, is that just like pre-existing health conditions that make individuals more fragile during these kinds of pandemics, gaps in respect to human rights have made all of society more vulnerable, and some more vulnerable than others. It is fitting, therefore, that action should be taken at all levels, from the community to those who are state duty bearers, policymakers, and influencers. Let me list a few calls to action that I would like to focus on this occasion on behalf of the UN Secretary General. Firstly, we need to do more to reduce inequality. Already marginalized communities are facing life-changing decisions during this pandemic. The devastating economic effects and loss of livelihoods have exacerbated existing vulnerability, including rights to health and social protection, decent work and education. Secondly, all of us must do a lot more to end discrimination, stigmatization, and othering, meaning others or those people of any kind. If anyone is at risk because of this pandemic or other global challenges like climate change, then everyone is at risk. There must be no discrimination, whether intentional or unintentional. Thirdly, we must do more to encourage participation, especially by young people and civil society. As I said, I'm here in the community. Our particular focus is on women, on youth, and people with disabilities. As governments try to close and protect their society, long-standing concerns for democratic space, participation, rule of law, and fundamental freedoms have become even more important. Public voices, including discontent, constructive dialogue, and questioning of policies and resource allocation to address the pandemic are all needed in a society so that the best solutions can be found jointly. We need more voices to shape our common future, and all voices have a right to that. Last but not least, we must do much more to ensure greater accountability. The importance of holding everyone at national and local levels, duty bearers, accountable for the measures that they're taking to address COVID-19 without corruption, and as resources are made available to address everyone's hardship, preventing discrimination and inequalities, and to ensure that individuals and communities receive the support that they need to build back better from COVID-19. Here in the Pacific, we need to find a way to work together, even remotely, as the Pacific community. Pacific solidarity is needed more than ever. The UN is committed to making that happen, to supporting your own efforts to come together as a Pacific community. I will be pleased as the Secretary General's representative to FSM to work more closely together with you, your government, and your people next year, and beyond that, once the new multi-country office will start its operation. As the world is trying to find the right vaccines, we are also urging for the equitable distribution of the vaccines. Not only finding the right vaccine, but the right access to vaccines for all. The vaccine is everyone's human right and should be treated as a public good, not a commodity that goes to the highest bidders in the most developed countries. Finally, we must act on fundamental human rights, on the right to recover for all. We must stand up for human rights of every single man, woman, boy and girl in the prison, in FSM. Working together, ladies and gentlemen, we can recover better. I wish you all a blessed, safe, and memorable Human Rights Day in FSM. Kalangin, Hulo, Kinesuchako, Tamaga. Thank you.
Vinaka Levu to the UN Resident Coordinator and our friends in Fiji for making that video possible. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatly distinct honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker who will deliver the Human Rights Day address. Mr. President David Panuelo, His Excellency David W. Panuelo is the 9th President of the Federated States of Micronesia. Born April 13, 1964, His Excellency completed his early education on the island of Pohnpei and continued his education in the United States, where he received his bachelor's in political science from Eastern Oregon University in 1987. His Excellency returned to our beloved home and, aspiring to serve the nation and its citizens, started his career with the FSM national government in the Department of Foreign Affairs as a Foreign Service officer. A year later, he was confirmed as the Deputy Ambassador for the FSM Embassy to Fiji, where he served until 1993, where, upon his return to Balikir, he was reappointed to serve his nation in the same role at the FSM mission to the United Nations from 1993 through 1996. After nearly a decade serving the FSM abroad, His Excellency returned home and was offered a cabinet position in the Pohnpei state government, which he accepted so as to address more focused and pragmatic issues at the state level. In 1997, His Excellency was named the Director of the Department of Resource Management and Development for the state of Pohnpei. At the end of the administration in 2000 to 2001, he returned to the FSM Department of Foreign Affairs and served as the Assistant Secretary for the Division of American and European Affairs. In 2003, His Excellency redirected his energy and efforts to the development of the private sector, and for the next 7 years established various businesses ranging from construction to human services, including the non-profit Care Micronesia Foundation. Having demonstrated to himself that the FSM is capable of sustaining a healthy private sector, His Excellency entered his name in the national elections of 2011 with the goal of developing the nation's economy and human capacity. In 2011, His Excellency was seated as Pohnpei State's 2-year senator from Congressional District 3 to the 17th Congress and was re-elected unopposed in 2013 and 2015. During the special election of 2015, His Excellency entered the race for and was seated as the state of Pohnpei's four-year at-large representative to the 19th Congress, which he maintained into the 20th Congress. His Excellency campaigned for the March 2019 election for the state of Pohnpei's at-large seat for the 21st Congress, highlighting his various service and people-centered accomplishments, including growing the FSM Trust Fund from 11 million US dollars to more than 250 million US dollars. And on May 11th, 2019, His Excellency was elected by the 21st Congress of the FSM to serve as the nation's 9th President. His Excellency is the loving father of 5 beautiful children and 7 equally beautiful grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the Federated States of Micronesia, His Excellency David W. Panuelo.
Before I say my few remarks on this very important day, let me begin by recognizing our traditional leaders of Pohnpei and throughout our nation. I also would like to recognize our national, state, and municipal leaders. Those who are present here, I would like to make special recognition of the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador of China to the FSM. I would also like to recognize the presence of our Ambassador of Japan to the FSM, the Charge d'Affaires of Australia to the FSM, the Honorable Sanaka Samarashina, who just spoke to us via recorded statement through virtual means. I also would like to recognize the Honorable Cromwell Bakaresa, who's the Chief of Mission for United Nations presence in the FSM. I also want to recognize Luke Payne, Mrs. Emiliana Musharshik-Carl, who's the current president of our Pohnpei Women's Council. The other international organizations who are present here, I see the acting head of International Migration Organization, Nathan Clancy, the mayor of Colonia Town, who's also here and kind enough to welcome us into his building here for Colonia. I recognize the women, men, children around us on this important day. I thank Father Ken for the inspiring prayers that he's delivered this morning. Thank you, Father Ken. You have been a great source of inspiration for the wisdom and prayers that you continue to do or give on behalf of our country, the FSM. I thank Mrs. Musharshik for the insightful statement that she delivered, and the statement by the UN resident or the UN Resident Coordinator, Mr. Samarasima. My fellow Micronesians who are present here, our dear citizens and citizens throughout the nation, today, December 11, 2020, the FSM joins the international community in recognizing and celebrating Human Rights Day, which commemorates the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 10, 1948. This document, the first international instrument to use the phrase rule of law, and you've heard the rule of law mentioned by many leaders around the world, because rule of law is a very important tool, an enforcement tool for any nation in the world. The phrase rule of law is the primary measurement tool for judging how our nation's efforts to support human rights compares to the idealistic standard or to the standard of other countries around the world. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. All human beings are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection under the law. These are very important words that is enshrined in the Human Rights Declaration. Today, upon hearing these words, I'm sure that you, all of us, trust that we are envisioning in our minds how the FSM seeks at all times and in all capacities to live up to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. As stated in our preamble, or in the preamble of our Constitution, we as a nation, sovereign independent nation, not only seek peace, friendship, cooperation, and love in our common humanity with all peoples and nations, but we also seek it in each other as Micronesians. Because every human being has the right to security of their person, and because the FSM recognizes climate change as an essential threat to human security, in June 1992, our nation joined the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have worked hard, and I know some of you are very aware of this. We have worked hard to remove CFCs. These are chlorofluorocarbons that pollutes the environment and causes acceleration of climate change from the atmosphere through the Montreal Protocol on ozone depleting substances. And we have shown that taking actions today has a real effect on our environmental prosperity tomorrow. You know, as leaders of the nation, the state, and the states, we are all doing great efforts in making sure that our environment is clean and safe for all of our citizens to enjoy. In recent years, we have called on our American allies, the United States of America, including other big nations like China, India, with the most populous countries, to come good on their commitments on the Paris Agreement. We called on the United States to join the Paris Agreement. They are our enduring partner. And I express collective thanks, as I did on November 10, just last month, to not only congratulate the President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden, for his recent election, but also that he has promised that the United States will commit to rejoining the Paris Agreement in the first days of his administration. And we are all thankful for that, because without the United States, without China, without India, without the European Union, and without the most populous countries in the world, our efforts would have been futile. So I thank the new incoming administration for this commitment that we look forward to welcoming as a developing island nation. Today, as International Human Rights Day, every child has the right to an education and to be treated with respect and dignity. To demonstrate this, the FSM joined the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1993. The education sector remains one of our most crucial in the development and security of our nation. And the government is committed to ensuring that every child has the opportunity to create a better future for themselves and their families. You know, human resource development is the most important factor in our nation building process, because we, human resources, every single one of you, are the most single important asset in our nation building process. In the meantime, per the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, our nation is in the process of drafting child protection policy legislation. Our partners at UNICEF, and I'm proud to say, are fully committed to support us in this direction, and I thank the UNICEF head of UN presence here in the FSM. Just yesterday, I received a briefing from our JCRB. This is the Joint Compact Review Planning Committee, the chief negotiator, the chairman of our JCRB, who have started engaging the U.S. on the extension of the expiring provisions of our compact. They briefed me yesterday most of the afternoon. The progress of our negotiations are well underway. I cannot disclose more information than that as of now, as the negotiations are ongoing. But what I've done is I've asked the Joint Committee on Compact Review Planning Committee to ensure that education and health sector are given the utmost priority. You recall that December 3rd was the day of International Day of Persons with Disabilities. I gave a short video address on that. This morning I met 4 individuals with disabilities, and I have to say that learning the program on disabilities throughout our nation, I'm alarmed at some of the shortcomings that our nation has been facing over the years. Because a person is defined by what they cannot control, such as their character, their attitude, and their actions, and not what they cannot control, such as their gender, their ethnicity, or whether they were born with disabilities or not. It is important that society treats all people fairly. People with different needs are, first and foremost, people and our brothers and sisters. And as such, they deserve our love and our respect. In the context of the FSM national government, I am instructing all of our line departments and agencies, offices, that The policy of the FSM national government from here going forward is to designate a handicap parking space to be reserved exclusively for persons with disabilities. And this will be done as early as possible. Last week, I also received a briefing that was very educational for me as your president of the nation. Many times I don't get the details of the programs that are happening in our country. But last week I called on our offices that are in charge of dealing with special education and people with disabilities. And I have to say that I was alarmed that the percent of our citizens that are with disabilities. You may not believe it, but more than 10% of our student population has disability. In the education sector, the national and state departments of education, they are working together to determine how we can increase both the number of activities for students in special education programs, as well as how to ensure that special education students are not left out or left behind. I want to add that we are grateful to the United States of America because just weeks ago, as this is the beginning of the fiscal year, I signed into law, or I signed resolutions for Congress action to authorize $3 million to be distributed to our states to support special education programs. And part of the briefing I received, I was alarmed by the shortcomings of our nation, the federal government, states, for not having enough dedicated source of funding to support our population with disabilities in general, including students with disabilities. For the women in our country, I thank Mrs. Moshashik, who's the president of the Bombay Women Association, and all the women throughout the FSM for your efforts. Because without your efforts, our actions in the national government would not have come to the point where we are today. The FSM signed the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 2004 and signed the Pacific Leaders Gender Equality Declaration in 2012. In our recent context under the COVID-19 pandemic, the government recognizes that 60% of the workers who have lost their jobs due to the pandemic are women. And we are seeking to employ new social protection programs to support them, starting in the beginning of 2021. You will recall that as your president, I requested Congress to appropriate somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 to 16 million to help the issues we are facing in the country because of our current lockdown. I look forward to announcing these new social protection programs when they are ready for implementation. But I can say just a little bit that by seeking out, working on proposals at the national government, we're able to get an approved $14 million from the Asian Development Bank that will be distributed to help these social programs that I've just talked about. Details will be forthcoming. Further, the convening in April of our FSM Protection Cluster, and these are the groups that are working around our nation, has addressed the silent and invisible pandemic of abuse and assault faced by women and vulnerable groups, resulting in outcomes such as the opening of the Duke Women's Council Crisis Support Center for survivors of gender-based violence. Just Weeks ago, I signed into law, and I signed project control documents to give out hundreds of thousands of financial support, and I thank our Congress for the foresight. We are in the process of opening centers across the FSM for survivors of gender-based violence. Through the UN Office for South Pacific Cooperation, we are beginning. Just this morning, I was reading a 1 million project on strengthening the FSM's gender machinery, for enhanced access to technology and for implementation of management of community and income generation and sanitation issues. Of crucial importance in the coming months, as funded through the recent special session of the 21st FSM Congress, will be the development of a national social indicator survey. This survey will help the government to make data-based decisions to support essential programming, including programming that strengthens our capacity to defend human rights. So you can see here that we're not only talking about human rights, but we are taking action to address the shortcomings of our nation, our states, in focusing more attention to human rights and helping people with disabilities. Even in the best of times, developing countries such as ours faces challenges in implementing many of the elements of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this, we all know that. Yet, through our whole of society approach, from the FSM national, state, and municipal governments to our bilateral relations with the United States, with Japan, with People's Republic of China, with Australia, to our multilateral cooperation with the UN or the United Nations and other non-government organizations such as IMO, International Migration Organization, and others, to our partners with the private sector and civil society, our communities and our families, we are showing that our commitments to upholding the declaration are bearing fruit. My fellow Micronesians and dear citizens, it is crucial in both times of peace as well as at times of calamity, such as these extraordinary times, that we stand together in support of human rights for all people. An infringement on the rights of one is the same as an infringement on the rights of us all. Whether we call it multilateralism, as we have been dealing with so many partners around the world, inclusivity, or simple human decency, we are much more alike than we are different. All human life matters, and it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to take action to ensure this always remains true. Before I conclude, I want to thank the earlier speakers. I want to thank the organizers of this program today, International Human Rights Day, the children who are here, students who are here. I want to conclude by just merely saying that we are blessed today to remain COVID-19 free. The health of our society and its security are part of human rights, and that is why all decisions which are made, your health and your human rights are a major consideration in the decisions we make. I close by saying that your safety, our nation's safety, and your health in these extraordinary times of COVID-19 will be first and foremost and will be the prevailing overriding factor in the decision that I will continue to make as your president of our great nation of the Federated States of Micronesia. The good news that I want to share is that this morning I received a call from the United States government, a very high-level individual who called from the White House and from the State Department to share that the vaccine for COVID-19 will be accelerated. The Centers for Disease Control, whom we've been coordinating our efforts to keep us COVID-19 free, our National Task Force on COVID-19 has been working with CDC and COVAX, the WHO global entity that distributes vaccines. And the news that we are receiving is that at least between 20 to 30% of our population in terms of the quantity of vaccines reserved by CDC is committed to reach our country the latest in March or could be sooner. And so that's the good news that I want to share. And as president of our country, because in everyone's mind, I know that COVID-19 is weighing heavily on all of us. As the president, I will continue to make the decision that would protect the majority of our population. My sympathies and my support goes out to our citizens who continue to wait to be repatriated to our country. Our prayers are with them, and we will continue to work to make sure that they reach our country. The good news that vaccines are around the corner is a very significant news that we should welcome, because when I go to sleep every night, I make sure that the safety and health of our citizens in our country are first and foremost. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say the few words here. Kalangan, Kilisho, Kulo, Kamangar, Erere Chungag Sakarata. Thank you very much.
Kalangan Lap, Your Excellency, Mr. President, for your profound words and for all that you do for human rights in the FSM. Thank you very much for reminding us of all the good nation-building efforts that we work for. To end our official ceremony this afternoon, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the students from Palikir ECE, Early Childhood Education, have prepared something special to remind us of how much potential we carry in this small but mighty nation of the FSM. ECE students, where are you?
Merry Christmas. Memoros keberadaan maupun kepercayaan buat ditilakkan mau turunkan juga saya National President His Excellency David Canueno obrigatikan kolos. PGC in Badalakun menyanyikan kemukatiraan human rights. Bukasan itu sama kan macam kas-kas ke dalam orang kas. Building brains, building futures. Call to action for the government partner to 1. Invest urgently in services that give young children the best start in life. 2. Expand access to effective and essential early childhood development services in home, school, community, and health clinics. 3. Make family friendly. Early childhood development policies, a national priority and a private sector imperative. 4. Collect data on essential indicators of early childhood development and track progress. 5. Provide dedicated leadership for ECD programs and coordinate efforts more efficiently across sectors. And lastly, 6. Drive demand for high-quality early childhood development services. Kailangan, and I thank you all.
menuju Bukit Karna Batam, Metro Kalangan Kubur Karas.
Kalangan mainku seri lolokong palakut. I'd like to thank Palakut ECE and announce that there has been a last-minute addition to today's program. Originally, Palakut ECE was supposed to be our last presentation, but when Omene Elementary School had heard that President Panuelo, President Carl, and Father Ken would be here for today, they had asked to present. So, the reason why we're even considering this is because Omene Elementary has been one of the most active and responsive schools in Pohnpei when it comes to COVID-19. So it is because of this that I would like to invite Omene Elementary to come up and present. Thank you.
First, I would like to pay our respect to His Excellency, Mr. David W. Vanuela, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Omene Environmental Club, the OEC. Our club was established in 2014 to raise awareness for students on environmental issues here on our small island state of Edison. We actively participate in the environmental events and also spread the awareness of environmental issues to our younger brothers and sisters such as climate change, water security, and the negative impacts of human activities that affect our small island, to name a few. We hope and welcome our sister schools to join us in preparing our generation to become our nation's environmentalists of tomorrow. Because as humans, especially as children, we have the right to education. Having said that, we would like to recognize and thank IOM and UNICEF for providing us with ways to ensure water security. We thank IOM for the 2 water tanks they provided to our school for the water catchment system, and UNICEF for the wash station. Now we would like to share with you a short presentation on the important facts about water and also sing a hand-washing song we have composed. We sing this song to our younger brothers and sisters when we teach them about the proper ways of washing our hands. Thank you all and salamat.
Did you know that nearly 97% of the world's water is salty or otherwise undrinkable? And as shown in the graph down here, only 2% of which is freshwater. Did you know that water is composed of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen?
Did you know that a human body holds up to 60% of water?
Did you know that a person can only live about a week without water?
Did you know that water is about 3.8 billion years old?
Kalangan sa rin ominous ko, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, these heartwarming presentations bring to an end our official ceremony for today's program.